to do. Indradyumna was ready to fast until death. Then he gets one of these unembodied voices. Says, no, you go back to Puri, where he was, but it's now known as Puri, and you build a big temple, and I'll let you worship me there. And he goes back. In wooden form, Daru Brahman. Daru Brahman means Brahman out of wood. The wooden form. So he goes back, and then, okay, where is he? So I think another voice comes. I may have to start. And the big wooden log comes floating in the ocean waves. And this is what he's supposed to carve the deity from. So he engages. Who's going to carve the deity? So they bring so many carvers, but all their instruments break. Who's going to carve this? Very strong wood, thick and hard wood. So one fellow comes. It turns out it's Vishwakarma, or he's working with Vishwakarma. So he says, I will carve the deity in the inner chambers of your palace in 21 days. But don't open the door, and that has to be complete seclusion. Otherwise it'll be a problem. So he says, fine. So he goes in there and you can hear for 14 days he's hearing the carving going on. Very excited. He's been wanting to worship this deity for years. And after 14 days, no more So he says, what's happening? He wants to go into the chamber, and his court advisor says, don't do it. But he can't restrain himself. He opens the door, there's no Vishwakarma, and there's Jagannath, unfinished. What is it? Unfinished. Oh, what an offense. So again, he wants to fast until death. He lies down, and I'll fast until death. Well, I've committed a great offense. I think this time it was a dream. I forget. In a dream, the deity comes, don't worry, I want to be worshipped in this form. You just install me in the temple and like that. So this was how Jagannath came to be like he is. Now another account has it that these deities recall a pastime in which Krishna was it Krishna? The queens were recounting Krishna's Vrindavan Leela in the chamber. And Krishna came by, and he was listening, and he became ecstatic. He's listening. Balaram came and Subhadra came. And they were all listening to these queens recount these wonderful ecstatic patterns of rasa dance and things. And they all become ecstatic. And these big smiles and the kind of distorted view, that's a sign of their distortion of the body out of ecstasy. So it's recalling that pastime. It's very internal. So that was the installation of Jagannath. Now, the Jagannath is there in the temple, and he's making himself available to be worshipped. But even more so, he comes out, and this is his unique thing. And this is what is so amazing now with the Rath Yatra. That now the Rath Yatra has a very deep esoteric meaning. And Lord Chaitanya has made the Rath Yatra very famous within Gaudiya Vaishnava circles, right? So the story, when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, he immediately started for Vrindavan. 3 days, he didn't eat, he didn't sleep, he just going to Vrindavan. Nityananda's with him. And he's completely oblivious. But at Vaidacharya and Nityananda, the devotees hadn't had their chance to say goodbye to Lord Chaitanya. He had gone off, taken sannyas, and now he's going to Vrindavan. So they tricked him, to come back to Shantipur, where Advaita's wife was cooking up a big feast. And there was his mother, and all the devotees, and they were just heartbroken. It was when they're heartbroken because he was shorn of his beautiful hair, wearing the austere garments of the sannyasi, So it was a big shock. Because they'd been used to him in Navagiri. But he's determined, he's going. But he said to his mother, oh mother, I'm sorry, I took sannyas. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Meaning, she could have said, oh, come back to Navagiri. But she said, no, that'll be very bad for his reputation. He wasn't going to do that. So he said, okay, look, you just please go and make Puri your headquarters, Jagannath Puri your headquarters. And that's fairly close to Navagiri. Vrindavan is 1,000,000 miles away. But this is close enough, so I'll get news from you at least, So he agreed, said, okay, I'll do that for you. So then for a week they had a festival every night, chanting and dancing, very ecstatic, And finally, very forthrightly, without looking back, even though they were crying in separation, he goes off to Puri. There's a whole bunch of pastimes. So he sets up in Puri, and there's many pastimes there. And of course he's taking part in the Rath Yatra. But he revealed the inner meaning of this Rath Yatra. And only at first, his intimate associates, especially Swarup Damodar, could understand. And he chanted this verse that seems to be what would be they called a cinema song. It didn't have anything to do with Krishna. Yakko Madha, now I'm meeting my lover again after many years of separation. I wish to take him back to the banks of the Reva, the river. There's nothing about Vrindavan, nothing about Krishna in that verse. But Rupa Goswami understood, and he composed a verse that Lord Chaitanya then discovered, and then he embraced Rupa Goswami and imparted into him all of the abilities to understand the most esoteric rasa and write the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So here's the verse, and this kind of opened up the esoteric meaning of Rath Yatra, which has come down to us in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Priyak soyam Krishna sahachari kuru chaitam militas tataham sarada tadidamo bhayo sangama sukham tatapyanta kelan modonamavali panchamadushe monome kadindi pulanavapanaya spahayati. So now this is taking place, this verse describes the meeting of the gopis, especially Radharani, with Krishna at Kurukshetra after a long separation. Krishna had left Vrindavan, he was only 15, 16, to go to Mathura to kill Kamsa. He promised him, I will come back right away. He didn't come back, right? I mean, externally, we know he's there in his Bhava expansion, but then he, the whole thing with Mathura, and killing Kamsa, Jarasan, the danger, Dwarka, right? He moves everybody to Dwarka, he goes, marries the 16 queens. So what's happening in Vrindavan? They're pining away. You read the Nectar of Devotion, the devotees' minds, they were mad in separation for many, many years. So then at one point, after a long time, there was a solar eclipse, and it's very auspicious traditionally to bathe in these lakes that Parashuram had created in Kurukshetra during that solar eclipse. So Krishna makes the trip with his whole entourage, 16,100 queens and all their attendants and the children and the chariots and everything, all the way from Dwarka to Kurukshetra, which is quite a ways. And of course all the residents from Vrindavan also came. Hare Krishna. They also came there. So they're seeing Krishna after a long, long absence. So this is Radharani's song, if you will, verse of meeting Krishna. She's speaking to a friend. He says, my dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this battlefield of Kurukshetra. Priyak soyam Krishna sahachari kuru chaita militas. I am the same Radha, he is the same Krishna, and it's certainly very nice that we're meeting here. But still, my mind hankers to go back to the bank of the Yamuna and to see him in that idyllic village, rural atmosphere. And this is what my heart hankers for. So this is expanded upon, and I'm going to read a little bit of this, chapter 13 in the Madhya Lila, which is the description of the Rath Yatra, and it's understood at the beginning. This is what happened every year, for 20 years. Lord Chaitanya would chant and dance in front of the Rath Yatra, and all the Navadip devotees would make a pilgrimage and stay up there for Rath Yatra, and then stay for the 4 months of the rainy season, then go back. So, this was the first time. So, Priyak Soyam Krishna. So it's expanded upon. The idea is that the gopis were ecstatic to meet Krishna, but it was a different mood. He was a prince. He had all the clanking of all the chariots, and he was in a different mood. He's not this sweet little, adolescent anymore. He's like, he's killed so many demons, and he's got this whole entourage. So they're saying, oh, the mood is not the same. Please come back to Vrindavan and enjoy with us like you did with the Rasa dance. So, the Rath Yatra is the symbolic pulling of Krishna back to Vrindavan by the ropes of the love of the residents of Vrindavan. So Krishna in Dwarka, that's Jagannath. He's there with Balaram and Subhadra living there, right? But they're taken to, so they're taking him from there, and it's wonderful. You have right in the middle of the city, there's Jagannath, but we go to the island, where it's all, right, it's a garden, it's a nice park. So it's very appropriate. Not every temple can have that. We go to the beach, you know, in Dravida in LA. Okay, we set it up. It's not exactly a rural area, you know? But it's a place where we can. But the whole idea, that's what we should remember. And the moods, if you really want to get into it, read chapter 13. I'm just going to read one little passage here, if you'll allow me, from now. Okay. So this is now. So Lord Chaitanya, as we know, he is combined Radha and Krishna. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. He's not an expansion of Krishna. He's not an avatar of Krishna. He is Krishna. But he's Krishna in the mood of Radharani. In one sense, Radha and Krishna are one, just as much as the sun and the sunshine are one. Radharani is the personified Ladani Shakti of Krishna. And Ladani Shakti means love of God. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikutiya. This is right at the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita. You'll find it that Radha is a transformation of love for Krishna. So, but she's like the energy of the pleasure energy of Krishna, Ladani Shakti. You see, and they're one and different. When they came to earth, they separated, and they had different bodies, apparently, you know. But there's this unbreakable connection there, just like with the sun and the sunshine. So Lord Chaitanya, he's Krishna himself, wanting to enjoy devotion to himself. He can't do that in the spiritual world as Krishna. It's described. Read the 4th chapter. It's very illuminating. Adi Leela, 4th chapter. So he says, I had these 3 desires. I wanted to appreciate the glory of Srimati Radharani's love for me, my own attractive features, please, my own attractive features that she alone can appreciate fully because of her love. You see? And I wanted to appreciate the happiness, the bliss that she... Those 3 aspirations could not be fulfilled in Goloka Vrindavan. He had to take on the mood of Radharani, and that's what Lord Chaitanya is. So the Rath Yatra, every time there's a Rath Yatra, Lord Chaitanya enters into that mood of Radharani, and he's pulling Krishna back to Vrindavan with his loving sentiments. And so here in this chapter 13, there's this whole dialogue between Radha and Krishna. It's very moving. And Radharani is saying this. I'll give you this one example because time is limited. Lord Chaitanya says, or sings rather, Anyara Hridayamana, Moramana Vrindavana, Mane Vane Eka Kari Jahani, Tahan Tumara Paradvai, Karaha Yadi Udai, Tobe Tomar Purna Kripamani. This is Krishna's Kaviraj. He's called Kaviraj because he's such a poet. There's hundreds of verses like this. Plus, he wrote the Govinda Lilamrita in Sanskrit. This is how he got it. So this is how there's songs. They were singing it. So what is being said? Speaking in the mood of Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "For most people, the mind and heart are one. But because my mind is never separated from Vrindavan, I consider my mind and Vrindavan to be one. My mind is already Vrindavan, and since you like Vrindavan, will you please place your lotus feet there? I would deem that your full mercy." So this is she's trying to bring him back to Vrindavan, enter into that mood. Now, this purport, I'll give you, this is a little history you won't find from anyone else. There's a history to this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Every single one of Srila Prabhupada's books, there's a little different history of how it came to be. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, actually, 2 of Prabhupada's early servants, Gaur Sundar and Govinda Dasi, they kept hearing Srila Prabhupada talk about Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada would sometimes give classes on his own Chaitanya Charitamrita, reading from the Bengali, you know. And so they wanted to know more and more about Lord Chaitanya, and somehow they came across an English translation before Prabhupada's. There was an English translation, just the verses. I mean, just the verses, no purport. So it's just a small book, or 3 small books. I saw it. So they're reading it, and they asked Prabhupada, can we read it? He said, yes, sure. You know, and finally they asked Prabhupada, can you please give us a translation? And so he did. This is how we have the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He stopped the Bhagavatam, and in a year and a half, he produced the Chaitanya Charitamrita with purpose. I forget the exact year, maybe 73, 74, something like that. And he mentions them, not by name, but at the beginning of you'll hear there's a reference. In order to please my devotees who wanted to hear the CC, I'm giving this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, when the Chaitanya Charitamrita was produced, I don't know if you know about this history, but I was right in the middle of it because I'm one of the early editors of Prabhupada. In 1973, I started proofreading. 74, I started editing in Brooklyn, New York. And there was some problem with the production of books. We were piling up the books. We had the whole 4th canto was waiting to be published, and it wasn't coming out. And Prabhupada started, he's saying, where's the books? And this enlivens me. Otherwise I get discouraged if you're not producing the books. So what happened was that we consolidated the BBT in Los Angeles. It had been mostly in New York. They brought the painters, then they brought all of us, producers. And so, there was a big improvement. So after 1 month, Prabhupada came there. This is about May, I think, of 75. And the morning walk, and the managers saying, Prabhupada, we can now produce two books a month, which is very fast. Produce big books, 400-page books. And Prabhupada stopped. He said, I want all books. And by that time, 17 books had been stacked up that needed to be written. I want all of them in 2 months. And Rameshwar Prabhu, the chief BBT trustee, said, that's impossible, Prabhupada. And this famous word, Prabhupada, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. You have to produce it, otherwise you're disqualified. Serious business. So they figured out, okay, if we can fly in everybody who knows English, and the painters, have to stop taking so long on the paintings, and they found out that some of the illustrations actually be photographs of the places. So they sent one devotee to India and gave him a motorcycle so he could go around all the places that you mentioned here. He could take shots, because the art takes a long time to produce. So all of these things happen, and I was in the middle of that marathon. Now, when you produce books that fast, inevitably mistakes are made. And what happened with this purport, it was lost. We're talking 1975, they were able to produce those books, and it inspired the whole movement. There are no limits, Don't think you can't distribute books here or there. Don't think, it was very inspiring for the whole movement at that time. That this seemingly impossible thing was able to be done with a concerted, dedicated effort. Some devotees would go round the clock, 24 hours they would stay along. So I did a little bit of editing. I was mostly doing BTG. But now, fast forward 20 years, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is being reprinted finally. After all those years, we finally, sold all those sets, 17 volumes. So it has to be reset. So I'm the editor who goes through word by word and see, well, what is this correct or not correct? So this particular purport had been lost. It just wasn't in the book. It was on the back side of a manuscript page, and with all of the hurly-burly of doing those 17 books, they missed it. They put the purport to the next verse, to this verse. So I'm going to read this purport, and you see what a jewel of a purport it is. So this is the purport to this verse about my mind. Radharani speaking, my mind is Vrindavan. Please place your lotus feet there. Come back to Vrindavan. Prabhupada says, it's very short. The mind's activities are thinking, feeling, and willing, by which the mind accepts materially favorable things and rejects the unfavorable. This is the consciousness of people in general. But when one's mind does not accept and reject, but simply becomes fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna, then one's mind becomes as good as Vrindavan. Wherever Krishna is, there also are Srimati Radharani, the gopis, the cowherd boys, and all the other inhabitants of Vrindavan. Thus, as soon as one fixes Krishna in his mind becomes identical with Vrindavan. In other words, When one's mind is completely free from all material desires and is engaged only in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one always lives in Vrindavan and nowhere else. Now, aren't you happy that I resurrected that otherwise lost little purple? There's so much in there.
That's powerful.
So, everything that we do in Krishna consciousness, this building, this festival, these beads I have in my bag, everything, is meant for us to come to the point of always remembering Krishna. Smartavyak satatam Vishnu vismartavyo najatu chit sarva vidinishedakshur etayor eva kinkaraha. This is a verse quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Prabhupada would quote it also. Smarta accepted it, and we know that Krishna is the original Vishnu, right? We know that all the Vishnus emanate from Krishna. So when he says Vishnu, it means Krishna. So remembering Krishna and not forgetting him. Smarta accept, always remember Vishnu. Smarta accepted the Vishnu. Vismartavyo najatu chit. Now, when I first read this verse, it sounds, well, is this redundant? It sounds like the same thing. Always remember Krishna and don't forget him. But there is an important difference, and it comes out in the third line. Sarva vidi nisheda ksur etayor eva kinkara, which means that all of the vidis and the nishedas are servants of these two principles. Okay? That means they're all meant to help us not forget Krishna and always remember Krishna. Now, vidi means the remembering, what you should do. Nisheda means the don'ts. In any discipline, any material or spiritual, there are a series of do's and don'ts, right? And if you read carefully, those who are sincere is measured by how much you're willing to do those things which may not be materially pleasing, and how much you're willing to not do those things which may be materially pleasing, but divert you from your goal. In this case, remembering Krishna. So it's no mystery. We have the nectar of devotion, the nectar of instruction, all the Srila Prabhupada instructions, Bhagavad Gita, what we're supposed to do, right? And all of those things are meant to help us remember Krishna and to deepen our service attitude to him. And we know there's a whole bunch of things we're not supposed to do, which sure and certain help us forget Krishna. So all of them are meant for that. So here, Prabhupada is talking about these activities of the mind, thinking, feeling, willing. So let's apply this to the Rath Yatra, which is really a part of what's called deity worship, right? It's a very extravagant, but a wonderful instance of deity worship. Deities go out all the time. I was in Mayapur recently, and they have the Utsav deities. They take on the elephant. Have you ever been there? Every Saturday night they go in a wonderful procession, So the deities don't just like to stay in the temple, they like to come out. But there's nothing like Rath Yatra. That's the coming out of the temple in spades, right? So, how does this help us? Well, thinking, feeling, willing. Okay, so we think about the instructions. Everything is going on according to instructions. Why are we doing this Rath Yatra? Because Prabhupada told us to. He instructed, he introduced it back in 1967 in San Francisco. You know the history. There was a little Rath Yatra doll or whatever that was found by one devotee. She stole it actually. That's kind of and showed it to Prabhupada. She said, it's from India. Okay, well, we don't know what it is. Here, put it on the desk. Prabhupada bows down. The devotees are shocked. It's a little, this tall. And so Prabhupada says, oh, that's Jagannath. Are there any more? Yeah, there's a whole barrel. So she goes back and steals the other two. Subhadra and Balaram. Devotee didn't have much money in that time. And so she puts them on, and Prabhupada said, these are the deities. Now, Shamasundar, you carve a big set. Right? So he was very good at it, and it took him a month or two. And they carved them. They became the deities for the first deities worshipped in ISKCON, in the San Francisco temple. It was, and you see pictures. There they are standing up there. So Prabhupada introduced. But because they were authorized by Prabhupada, because he instructed them, because they worshipped, therefore Krishna can be seen in the deity according to your purity. People come in, the ordinary people, they see wood, they see a doll, they see a statue. But the more your heart is purified, premanjana charita bhakti, then you can actually see and serve Krishna through the deity. And when you're aware of these pastimes, remembering how Lord Chaitanya would feel, you become purified by that, and you can enter into that mood. Not that you're going to become a pure devotee right away, but you can feel this mood because you're drawn into it. And so many things to do with the thinking, feeling, and willing. Right? We have to think about how to put on this festival. We have to will in order to raise the money and build the carts and cook the prasadam and rent the thing and do everything that's to do. And then there's a wonderful procession. thinking, feeling, and willing there is in that, right? So the mind is filled. These festivals are very common. You know, they're wonderful ways. And factually, Prabhupada set up ISKCON in such a way that every day is supposed to be a festival. You know, Mangalarti, there's the deity, the singing, the dancing, you know, and you have your japa, that's definitely thinking, you know, you have to control the mind, try to bring it. And then there's so much to do, more singing, thinking, you know, and then there's a day full of service, right? And how to expand and how to, you know, and it's all fixed on Krishna. The whole idea is it's a practical yoga system by which we can actually become absorbed in thought of Krishna. And we find that all of these other things are falling away. The distractions, the inner and outer, you know, temptations, and any negative feelings, somehow they're just evaporating, just like fog and the sun comes up. And so when you read the philosophy, because there's deep philosophy behind this, Lord Chaitanya came to fulfill the message of Bhagavatam. This is spoken of, you know. Bhagavatam is filled with so much philosophy. And we find that the problem of the living entity is this mind. The mind conditioned over many lifetimes to identify with the external body and to completely forget about Krishna. And as soon as we enter into that mood out of envy, you know, our sojourn in the material world continues. And unless we have an intervention, I like to use this term, you know, if somebody is addicted to something, you know, people know about that, hopefully nobody here ever had that experience, but sometimes they lose control, they can't do it. So I got it under control. I only take 2 drinks a day, you know. And then you find, oh, what happened? There's 4 drinks an hour, you know. And it's cool, I can quit at any time. A lot of people who smoke think, I can quit at any time. But then you find that you can't quit at any time. You know, it's very, very powerful. So you need somebody to come from outside, somebody, your family, your friend, somebody who cares about you. What are you doing? You're ruining your life. You know, come, I'll take you to rehab, right? He said, all right, I'll go to rehab. So what is rehab? Rehab means an environment where other people are, you know, under a control environment, where that temptation isn't there, and where you're strengthening your will by association, that you can actually kick the habit, you know. So in material life, everybody's an addict. We've all become addicted to our own specific variety of sense gratification, in all kinds of different species, you know. And these bodies and these senses are simply means to allow us to work out that, you know, desire, and to ultimately come to the human form of life, where we can hear from Krishna, or from Krishna's representative, or Krishna's book, which acts as the intervention, that this is madness. This is not. We don't have to suffer so much. We have our legacy, our right of eternal knowledge and bliss. But in order to get from here to there, it's a long road, because we're so conditioned. But Lord Chaitanya, Krishna has made it so easy in this age by the chanting of the holy name. You know this verse? Kale dosha nidhe asti eko mahadguna kirtanari krishnasya mukta sangha paramudaya. That this Kali Yuga that we're living in, all of us, is an ocean of faults. We don't live very long, we're always disturbed, we're misguided. You know, everything is polluted. It's the ether with the sound, the air with pollutants, the water, if there is any water. Where I live, there's hardly any water anymore. The drought, you know, everything is disrupted. But amid all of these difficulties, there's one great advantage. Kirtanadeva Krishnasya mukta sangam param bhajet. That just by absorbing one's mind in the kirtan of Krishna's name, mukta sangha, one becomes freed from all of these attachments we've been building for millions of years. And param bhajet, one goes back to God. You know? So all of these, the deity worship in the temple, the Rath Yatra festival, it's all centered on chanting, isn't it? There's all of this kirtan, that's the essence of it. And now we have this whole week building up with more chanting. We have some of the leading chanters at ISKCON who come to bless us, right? So it's all absorbed in that. And that allows our mind to become pure and thinking more and more of Krishna. And when we're only thinking of Krishna, we're in Vrindavan. It's not just a physical place. It's all pervading. Goloka Vrindavan is everywhere. And wherever Krishna is, the cowherd boys and girls and his parents and the whole Vrindavan atmosphere is there. So this is where we belong. And these festivals such as Jagannath Rath Yatra help us to make progress in becoming absorbed in that mood. So I'll end here. If there's any discussion on these points, we'll be happy to entertain them. Any questions? Otherwise, we can set up the. We have the screen. Where's the screen? Over here. Okay. It doesn't matter. We can put it here.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on Krishna and Radha? And just.
Well, yes. Krishna is the original supreme person, and Radharani is internal pleasure potency. So they have eternal pastimes in the spiritual world. Now Radha, just as Krishna expands, right? He expands into all of Vrindavan that we know. The entities there. The cowherd boys are also part of his energy. And the cowherd girls are expanding from Radharani. And so all of that is it's a wonderful festival every day of loving exchange, you see. And as I mentioned, Ladini is that personified pleasure potency. So the pastimes, we can read about them in the Bhagavad Purana and other literatures that Krishna enjoys. It seems to be an ordinary love affair, but I'll tell you another editing thing, because it all comes back to the words. Sometimes Prabhupada would use the phrase love affair, but he really means loving affairs. A love affair is a temporary thing, isn't it? Love affair is like something that it starts and stops. Doesn't really apply. So we took all the love affairs in the books and we made them loving affairs. So these loving affairs, which is what Prabhupada really means by that. There's this unlimited variety. It begins with Srimati Radharani. There are many other gopis who are expansions of her. This is all described in the Ujjvala Nilamani. Different groups, and it's very highly developed. The different relations, the different emotions that they experience in relation to Krishna. They're coming together in the separation. Sometimes it's a little difficult to understand because Srimati Radharani seems to be in such pain of separation. This is described in passages of Nectar Devotion and other literatures. In separation from Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya also. He's perfectly reflecting Radharani's mood. And it's described out in Puri, the last number of years, 12 years. He's in this mood of extreme separation. And sometimes he's crying, he's rubbing his face against the wall of the room, blood is coming, And the ordinary person, I thought this was supposed to be peaceful and blissful. What happened? Where is it? But this is at a much higher level. And just as we can't understand how the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna have nothing to do with sex, so that the seeming pain, or mundane sex, the seeming pain that Lord Chaitanya is the greatest pleasure. Because here's the central point, is that the depth and variety of bliss that one feels in relation to Krishna is based on the intensity of the feeling that you're feeling for Krishna. The intensity of the positive feeling, love. We're not going to get into the demons, how they remember Krishna. That's another thing. But, so there's no one who feels as deeply attached to Krishna or loving Krishna as Srimati Radharani. And therefore she appreciates Krishna, the intensity of her pleasure that she's feeling is even greater than Krishna's. That's why he wanted the experience. He came as Lord Chaitanya. See, this is the wonderful, amazing thing. We're part and parcel of Krishna, and we're part and parcel of that Ladini Shakti. We have that. But when that Ladini Shakti is directed outward into the material energy, it produces what we call sense gratification, which brings pain. It's right there in the Gita. These pleasures that you experience with the senses and the sense objects are the source of your pain. Ye sangsparjaja bhoga dukkayone evite. People don't realize that. So, but when that same energy of enjoyment is directed to Krishna, simply working and thinking for his pleasure, that's ultimate love. That's what Srimati Radharani, Then that produces the greatest sustained and unending pleasure for the living entity. Think of it this way. There's a scientifically. Krishna is, according to Vedanta Sutra, Anandamayo Vyasa. It is understood from his pastimes and that he's made of Ananda. Anandamaya means filled with bliss at all times. We are part and parcel of Krishna. We also have that nature, Anandamaya. But what happened to it? Can anyone say now that we're always full of bliss? No. Sometimes there's a little sense of pleasure or displeasure, or emotional pleasure, but there's a whole lot of misery. We're certainly not Anandamaya. So what happened? Well, we got covered. We lost our identity, and we're identifying with this externals, and we've forgotten our true nature. So, since Krishna's ability to enjoy is unlimited, like everything else, if we can simply transfer our enjoying potency to Krishna, meaning that we take pleasure in Krishna's pleasure. This is straight from the Sandarbhas. It says, Bhajaniya Padama Purusha Sukha Matra Swasukha Dvam. This phrase, it's not poetry, it's a prose passage. Which means, Sukha Matra Swasukha Dvam, that taking one's own pleasure wholly and solely in the pleasure of the worshipable Supreme Person. This is the essence of bhakti. Now we should remember, because immediately in our conditioned state we think, well, what about me? I'm just supposed to think of Krishna's pleasure, what about me? This is the great fallacy. That Krishna is the self of the self, our real self, you understand? In other words, when you're serving Krishna, you're serving your real self. When you're serving your body, you're serving your not self. And those impulses, bodily, mental, emotional, they're not you. They're cruel taskmasters. Kama dinam katina katita palita durnideshas. The prayer by Madhavan Rapuri, recorded by Lord Chaitanya in his instructions to Sanatana, recorded by Krishna's Kaviraj. He's saying, oh, in how many ways have I sought to obey the seductive demands of my wicked desires? They show me no mercy, yet on I've gone shamelessly trying to quench lust's unquenchable fires. But now I'm rejecting these hellish desires, for my higher intelligence now has awoken. O Krishna, O shelter of fearlessness, please let me serve you with faith that will never be broken. Now, how does this relate to Radharani? Because Radharani is the personification of that consciousness of simply being concerned with Krishna's pleasure. And this is called pure love. The mother purely loves the child, is simply concerned with the child's pleasure. If she has some food and the child is hungry, she'll give it all to the child. This is the thing. If the child is smiling, showing the little teeth coming in, and sleeping nicely, she's happy. Right? So that's selflessness. So now let me just finish. So when our only means of pleasure is the pleasure of Krishna, then that's perfection. That's what's going on in the spiritual world. Now on the other side, Krishna takes pleasure in giving his devotees pleasure. So he is dressing up that way and attracting them and becoming more beautiful because of their love, and it's just a competition. Who's going to love who more? And that's all that's going on. It's completely selfless. There's no karma, it's only prema. And Radharani personifies that, and she expands as all the other servants, and all the service goes through her. So there's so much more to be said. If you really want to read chapter 4, Adi Lila. Okay. It describes so much about the tattva of who Radharani is, in relation to Lord Chaitanya, and in relation to us as well. Okay, any other questions? You had one. He was next.
Just Prabhu, thank you for wonderful class and bringing the mood, because everybody gets busy, like you said, in the organization. But so Prabhu, when you heard the verse where you said thinking, willing, and completely absorbed, feeling for Krishna, and that's the goal, and your mind is in Vrindavan. It just reminded me of something I read in the 11th canto purport, and I wanted to just understand from you, or so that I don't misunderstand it. So where I think the devotee is right, that sometimes when you're so absorbed in service to Krishna that you may forget about him or the deity. So I just wanted to, how can we understand that?
Okay, so that happens in our neophyte state. Okay. It's good. We get so absorbed in cooking, we're thinking, the carrot's thick enough. That's good because it's for Krishna. And hopefully there's a kirtan playing, so you're not completely. But the ideal is to, while doing this service, to be thinking of Krishna. It's a question of love, really being. The example is given, a very down-home example. A married woman has a paramour. So she's doing her duties very nicely, so the husband won't suspect. But she's thinking, when am I going to meet that paramour? So thinking at the same time doing. So what happens is that the key, the first point is the thinking has to be there. And that comes out in this verse. He says, my intelligence has been awoken, my higher intelligence. So now I'm rejecting these desires. The desires are still there, but I'm not serving them anymore. So I'm willing to do something else with my senses. What does it mean to chant? I'm assuming we all chant Hare Krishna, like somewhat on the beats and certainly in kirtan. So there's a sound there. The name is coming. Someone is chanting. Or we're chanting on our beats. Oh, the mind is rebelling. So many things we're thinking of tomorrow, next day, what about this? But you bring the mind back, right? That's the thinking. Why do we do it? Because we heard about it. Someone instructed us. This is what it means. This is sadhana. Okay? And so, you're thinking and willing. Thinking, willing, bring the mind back. The feeling may or may not be there. Something may come, something may go. You know what I mean? But because your intelligence has been purified by hearing the Shastra and reading, I know what I should do. It's basic morality, right? We're not animals, we're trained as children. No, you can't do that, do this, can't do that. You can't hit your friend like that. They have feelings also, to try to instill this idea. And so after a while, that becomes second nature. But it comes, the intelligence is the key. That's all that separates us from the animals, is this separate intelligence. So that comes from hearing the Shastra, from discipline. And then we're willing, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get up early in the morning. I'm going to, give this up today and I'm going to do this. Or, So you're actually doing things that viscerally you don't want to do. And you're not doing things that spontaneously you want to do. Right? So it's always like that. And after a while, it's easy. You wouldn't dream of doing those things anymore. And you wouldn't dream of not doing it. I mean, be honest, I'm not bragging, I'm not a pure devotee, but I've been coming to this Mangalarti for 41 years. For me, the morning program is the morning program. There's some days where it's not possible to do it. But basically, that's just built in now. Now, when I first joined it, like every other devotee who joins the temple, full time, which is what I did, is, are you kidding me? 4 o'clock? You just stagger into the shower. Now, this is, so the shower means cold shower. This is New York in March. There's no warm water. This is it, the moment of truth. Am I going to pack up my sleeping bag and leave the temple, or am I going to actually surrender? Some of the shortest showers I ever took, I got it ready. But still, you take a shower. But then you say, okay, I know I should do it. Everyone else is doing it. That's a big thing. They're doing it, so I can. I did it, and when you're out of the shower, it feels much warmer, even though it's about 50 degrees in the ashram. And you say, oh, I'm a great yogi, so you get a little encouragement. So suddenly you took a step, I'm willing to do something that nobody in his right mind would do, without this context. But you took a step forward, And bhakti is like that. Any discipline is like that. So, when everything is in tune, and what you're thinking and willing and the feeling is there, because the natural feeling for Krishna is there. He's all attractive. That's why he's Krishna. And that's what we're going to do in a few minutes. We want to do that. I'll show you a slideshow that I wasn't able to show on Sunday. And someone was very disappointed. I don't think they're here now, unfortunately. And it's about Krishna just as sweet. The sweet Krishna. His lotus feet and hands are sweet. His waist and lotus navel sweet. His threefold bending pose is sweet. The king of sweet is sweet complete. Now you can see pictures, right? When you it's all pictures. This is all his lotus feet, and so you've seen his lotus feet. His lips are sweet, his smile is sweet, his lotus eyes and face are sweet. His heart is sweet, his name is sweet. The king of sweet is sweet complete. So we can't see the pictures. We're thinking of something else. So we're going to show a slideshow where we have pictures. So I think we should probably adjourn if we want to do that before the arti. King of sweet, oh king of sweet, you're sweet complete. Your lotus feet and hands are sweet. The waist and lotus navel sweet. Threefold bending pose is sweet. Oh king of sweet, you're sweet complete. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Your lips are sweet, your smile is sweet, your lotus eyes garments are sweet, your silk and yellow garments sweet, your flute and horn and staff are sweet, oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Your splendid golden belt is sweet, your brilliant yellow tilak sweet, your Vrindaberry necklace sweet, oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Your glossy curly locks are sweet, your dancing sidelong glance is sweet, your eyebrows playful gestures sweet, oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Your voice is sweet, your words are sweet, your tinkling ankle bells are sweet, your song and your laughter is sweet, oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In your yard is sweet, your big drag by calves is sweet, the elder gopis laugh is sweet, oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The elder gopis' plaints are sweet, your flaming innocence is sweet, you're melting all their hearts is sweet, oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Oh King of sweet, you're sweet complete. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON की प्रार्थना चर्च श्री प्रभुपाद की जय. जय श्री महाप्रभु सतत church restored to Sri Srila His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Praise the Lord Sri Chaitanya Prabhu Sri Vedi Radha Sri Vasami Gaur Bhakti ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopina Shyam Radha Girodhan ki jai. Nandam ki jai. Duti Maya Bodhan ki jai. Jagannath Bodhan ki jai. Jagannath Swami ki jai. Gaurami ki jai. Murmai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Transcendental Distribution ki jai. Shri Jagannath Yatra ki jai. Jagannath Yatra ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the Son, glories.